Everyone assumed Courage had a uniform, neat and unbroken. No one expected it to hide under torn skin and faded scars. Lieutenant Harper stood in the blazing sun of the training ground, her back tense, her chest rising in shallow breaths. The general's sharp eyes swept the unit, stopping abruptly on her. "Explain yourself," he barked, voice cutting through the heat and dust. "Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening." Harper's hand trembled slightly as she reached for the hem of her shirt. The morning wind teased the loose strands of her hair across her forehead. She hesitated. Every soldier around her froze, sensing the weight of what was coming. Then, slowly, she lifted her shirt. The sunlight caught the jagged, pale lines running across her ribs, scars that spoke of battles no one had survived without leaving pieces of themselves behind. A collective gasp rose from the unit. Whispered questions filled the air. The general's jaw tightened, eyes widening as recognition and shock wrestled across his face. These were not the marks of a simple injury. These were survival stories etched into flesh, the remnants of a past mission he had long buried in memory. Harper's heart pounded. She thought she'd never see him again. She was wrong. The air felt thick, almost electric. Dust swirled around their boots as the general took a slow step forward, his uniform stiff but somehow secondary to the raw humanity before him. Around them, murmurs escalated. Fellow soldiers craning to see, neighbors from nearby quarters emerging to watch, sensing that something extraordinary was unfolding in broad daylight. "I didn't think you'd be here," Harper whispered, her voice barely carrying above the tension. "I never stopped paying attention," he replied. Voice low, almost a confession. Memories of that operation, of every choice and every life teetering on a knife's edge, flickered across his mind. The moral weight of command, of responsibility, hit him in the open sun. Could he truly discipline someone whose bravery had rewritten what he thought courage looked like? The general's hand lifted, not in anger, but in a gesture that broke the tension like sunlight piercing storm clouds. He traced the edge of one scar, a silent acknowledgment that the battles Harper carried were now recognized. By him, by everyone watching. Around them, the unit straightened, inspired, as if a new definition of strength had just been revealed. Harper's chest heaved, not from fear, but from relief. She realized something she hadn't allowed herself to believe, that her scars, her very human fragility, could coexist with honor. The ground felt lighter, the air warmer, even the sun seemed to linger, highlighting the curves of courage etched in her body. For a moment, the world outside that field didn't exist. Only recognition, only justice in its purest, quiet form. And then, the general spoke again, words that would echo in Harper's mind long after the dust settled. "Courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, and it carries you through what others can't even imagine." Harper nodded, a small victorious smile tugging at her lips. Around them, soldiers began to murmur words of respect, a chorus rising in the bright daylight, validating a hero who had almost hidden from the world. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And in the sunlit silence of the training ground, Harper knew that scars could tell stories, that bravery was not measured by appearance, and that sometimes truth needed only a quiet moment to shine. If you felt inspired by Harper's courage, comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe and join our community, where every story, every act of bravery, matters.